Let me ask you a question that might be a little uncomfortable. How many hours have you spent this week planning things you've never done? How many spreadsheets have you created? How many productivity apps have you downloaded? How many times have you said, "I'll start next week"? There's a frightening statistic that very few people talk about. Studies show that 92% of people who make detailed New Year's resolutions abandon those plans before February. Not because the plans were bad, but because spending time planning gives the illusion of progress without requiring the discomfort of real action. There's a stark difference between preparation and disguised procrastination. And most people go through life without realizing they're on the wrong side of that line. The Japanese have a proverb for that. It's called Enzuru Yori Omegasushi. Literally, it means giving birth is easier than worrying about it. More directly translated, doing is easier than being anxious about doing it. It seems simple, right? But that sentence contains a truth that can destroy years of self-sabotage in seconds because it reveals something you probably already know deep down, but have never admitted. You're not planning. You're not stuck. You're hiding. And today I'm going to tell you about a man named Isaac, an American obsessed with productivity, who never actually produced anything. A lifelong planner with flawless strategies for everything, except the courage to act. Until the day he learned a brutal lesson from a Japanese philosophy he never expected to live through. Chapter 1. The Productive Man with No Results. Isaac was 32 years old, and if productivity books were trophies, he was a champion. 47 books on habits, focus, leadership, and self-improvement lined his shelves. 6 online courses half finished. 5 time management apps on his phone. A bullet journal so organized it looked like art. A color-coded Google Sheet mapping every hour of every day. And yet, zero meaningful progress. Isaac wasn't lazy. That was the frustrating part. He woke up at 5:30 a.m. daily. He tracked his habits. He knew the Pomodoro technique. He could explain deep work better than most productivity influencers. But he rarely executed. He worked as a junior data analyst at a tech startup. Average salary. No promotion in sight. Everyone who joined with him had moved up. Except Isaac. Not because he lacked skill. Because he was overprepared. When a team leader position opened, he said, "I'll apply. But first I should finish that leadership course I bought. And maybe complete that management book. And polish my portfolio. I'll apply next week." Next week became next month. Next month became next time. The role went to someone with less experience, someone who simply said, "I'm ready." His finances followed the same pattern. He wanted to invest. He built a gorgeous spreadsheet. Asset allocations, projected compound interest over 30 years, quarterly rebalancing strategies. It looked like something from a financial consulting firm. But he never opened a brokerage account. Why? Because he needed to read 3 more books. Watch another course. Understand every possible risk. While he prepared, inflation quietly eroded his savings. His love life. Same story. Isaac mentally rehearsed perfect conversations. He rewrote his dating profile 5 times. He planned to lose 3 more kilos before putting himself out there. "I'll start in 2 months, he told himself. 2 became 8. 8 became 2 years. He remained alone, architect of a perfect relationship that never began. Chapter 2. The Illusion of Control. One Sunday evening, Isaac sat at his kitchen table. Laptop open. 3 notebooks stacked beside him. Highlighters arranged by priority. Tonight was different. He was designing the system. The perfect routine that would transform his life. Monday plan, 5 a.m., wake up 5:05, meditate 5:30, read 30 pages 6:15, gym 7:30, healthy breakfast 9 to 12 o'clock, deep work 50-minute focus blocks 10-minute breaks. He mapped every hour, every transition, even commuting time. 47 rows of structured perfection. By the time he finished optimizing everything, it was midnight. He leaned back, staring at the plan. That familiar satisfaction washed over him, the same feeling you get after reorganizing your desk instead of studying. It felt like progress. It wasn't. He went to sleep smiling. Tomorrow changes everything. For the 17th time that year. 5 a.m. Monday. Alarm rings. Isaac opens his eyes, looks at the schedule, and pauses. If I meditate before coffee, I'll be groggy. But if I drink coffee first, meditation won't be pure. Maybe I should shift reading later. He grabs the notebook, adjusts, recalculates, reorders. At 7 a.m., Isaac was still refining the plan. He hadn't meditated, hadn't read, hadn't gone to the gym. He had only optimized. This repeated for weeks. The routine never began because it was never flawless. There was always something to improve. One more risk to eliminate. One more detail to perfect. But the real reason? Fear. Fear of doing it badly. Fear of failing publicly. Fear of discovering he wasn't as capable as he imagined. Because while you're planning, you remain untouchable. Plans are always perfect. Reality isn't. And Isaac preferred flawless blueprints to imperfect action. Chapter 3. The course that never existed. For 3 years, Isaac carried a dream. He wanted to create an online course teaching data analysis to beginners. He had 8 years of experience. He understood the tools. He knew the common mistakes. He could genuinely help people. But the course did not exist. Because Isaac was still preparing. First, he spent 6 months comparing platforms. Udemy, Teachable, Hotmart. He built a spreadsheet with 23 evaluation criteria. He still couldn't decide. Then came curriculum design. How many modules? How long should each lesson be? What's the ideal learning sequence? He redesigned the outline 14 times. Then equipment research. Microphones, cameras, lighting setups, editing software. He watched dozens of reviews. Bought 2 microphones. Returned both. 3 years passed. 0 lessons recorded. 0 students helped. 0 revenue earned. Isaac wasn't incapable. He was trapped in preparation. And preparation had become his escape. But Isaac had something Marcus didn't. He had 127 pages of preparation. Detailed schedules. Full lesson scripts. Storyboards for each module. Marketing funnels mapped out in advance. Launch strategies drafted down to email sequences. He had everything. Except a course. One afternoon, a coworker named Marcus announced he had launched his own data analysis course. Same topic. Same target audience. Objectively, it wasn't impressive. The audio quality was rough. The slides were basic. The explanations were simple. It looked unfinished. But here's what mattered. In the first month, 340 people enrolled. Marcus earned $1,900. Isaac stared at the numbers on his screen and felt something sharp twist inside him. It wasn't just envy. It was regret. Because he knew he could have made something better. Higher quality. More structured. More helpful. But Marcus had something Isaac didn't. Marcus had shipped. He used a $40 microphone. Recorded 6 lessons. Uploaded them. Imperfect. Incomplete. Real. While Isaac waited for the right moment. A moment that never arrived. That night, Isaac opened his master planning document. 127 pages. 3 years of thinking. He scrolled through the outlines, the diagrams, the projections. And then he did something absurd. He deleted it. Not to finally act. But to start over, properly. More research. Better structure. Cleaner strategy. He still hadn't understood the lesson. Chapter 4. The trip that disrupted his illusion. 3 months later, Isaac's company sent him to Tokyo for a 5-day technology conference. It was his first time outside the United States. He was excited. And of course he prepared obsessively. Detailed daily itineraries. Restaurant lists. Tourist routes timed to the minute. 3 travel guides purchased. 7 translation apps downloaded. Every subway transfer mapped in advance. Control gave him comfort. On the second day, the company hosted an internal seminar at their Japanese office. The topic, Execution Culture versus Planning Culture. The speaker was Takashi Nakamura, the company's operations director for Asia. About 60 years old. Calm voice. Deliberate movements. He began with a simple question. How many of you have been planning a project for more than 6 months, and haven't started? Several hands rose. Isaac kept his down. Not because it didn't apply, but because it hurt. Takashi nodded. Let me tell you something my mentor once told me. He paused. When I was 25, I worked in a car factory in Osaka. I wanted to become a supervisor, but I didn't feel ready. I told myself I needed more experience, more preparation, more knowledge. One day my mentor said to me, Enzuru yori omoji yasushi. The room was silent. It means, giving birth is easier than worrying about it. He let that sink in. You can spend 9 months imagining the pain, the risks, the complications. The anxiety feels enormous. But when the moment comes, you act. And often, the reality is less frightening than the anticipation. Isaac felt his chest tighten. Takashi continued, you can exhaust yourself thinking about doing something. But action has an end. Worry does not. Worry is infinite. In Japan, we respect preparation. But there is a difference between preparation that leads to action, and preparation that protects you from it. Useful preparation moves you forward. Disguised procrastination keeps you safe. Chapter 5. The question that shattered him. Later that evening, during the networking reception, Isaac approached Takashi. "Mr. Nakamura? I think I'm the kind of person you described. I prepare endlessly. I don't execute. How do I fix that?" Takashi studied him carefully. "What are you planning right now?" "I've been developing an online course for 3 years." 3 years? Takashi repeated softly. "How many lessons have you recorded?" "None." "Why?" Isaac started listing explanations. Equipment, curriculum structure, platform comparisons, marketing funnels. Takashi gently interrupted. "Those are not reasons. They are shields." Then he asked a question Isaac wasn't prepared for. "If you died tomorrow, would you regret not creating this course?" The air felt heavy. Isaac couldn't lie. "Yes, I would." "Then why are you behaving as if you have unlimited time?" Silence. Then Takashi leaned forward slightly. "When you return home, record 1 lesson. Just 1. 10 minutes. With your phone. No perfect script. No professional setup. Post it somewhere. Anywhere." Isaac hesitated. "What if it's terrible?" "It will be," Takashi said calmly. "The first version of anything is." He paused. "But do you know what's worse than a bad first version?" "No version at all." That sentence hit Isaac harder than he expected. For 3 years he hadn't been protecting quality. He had been protecting his ego. As long as the course existed only in theory, it was flawless. The moment he created it, it could fail. Takashi repeated, "The anxiety of action is always heavier than the action itself. Stop rehearsing your life. Start living it." Chapter 6. The flight home. Isaac boarded the plane back to the United States unsettled. Not transformed, but disturbed. Something inside him had shifted. On the flight, he wrote on a scrap of paper, 1 lesson. 10 minutes. Cell phone. No excuses. When he got home, it was Saturday morning. He stood in his apartment holding that paper. The urge to plan surged immediately. Outline the lesson. Research better lighting. Buy a better mic. Watch tutorials on framing. Delay disguised as optimization. Then Takashi's words echoed in his mind. Doing is easier than worrying. Isaac placed his phone on a stack of books. Hit record. His heart pounded. And for the first time in 3 years, he didn't prepare. He began. He picked up his phone. Opened the camera. Stacked a few books on his desk and leaned the phone against them. Pressed record. And froze. 30 seconds passed. He just stared at himself on the screen. His mind went blank. He stopped the recording. "It's not ready. I need a script." The old reflex. Then he paused. Closed his eyes. Took a slow breath. And remembered what Takashi Nakamura had said. The first version is always bad. He pressed record again. And this time he started talking. No script. No outline. No lighting adjustments. Just him explaining a data analysis concept he had taught to interns dozens of times. He stumbled over words. Repeated the same verbal tick 8 times. Lost his train of thought twice. He planned for 10 minutes. It became 14. But he finished. When he watched it back, his stomach tightened. Street noise leaked into the audio. The lighting was uneven. One explanation was confusing. His finger hovered over delete. But he had made a promise. To Takashi. To himself. He uploaded it to YouTube as an unlisted video. Then shared it on LinkedIn with a simple caption. First lesson of a course I'm building. Imperfect but real. That night he didn't feel proud. He felt relieved. Relieved that, for once, he had done something instead of designing it. Chapter 7. The response he never expected. Monday morning. Isaac opened LinkedIn. 47 likes. 12 comments. His chest tightened again, this time from fear. He expected criticism. Someone pointing out the poor audio. The lighting. The awkward pauses. But that's not what he found. One comment read, "Thank you. I've struggled with this concept for weeks. You explained it in 10 minutes better than any tutorial I found. Please make more." Another, "It's not perfect but it's honest. That's what makes it valuable." Another, "Finally, someone who actually teaches instead of just selling." He reread each comment slowly. For 3 years he had waited to help people properly. In 14 imperfect minutes he had already helped someone. But one comment stopped him completely. A woman wrote, "I work in marketing but want to transition into data. Most content feels polished and distant. Your video made it feel possible. Like I don't need to be perfect to start. Thank you." Isaac closed his laptop. That line hit deeper than the likes. He had unknowingly given someone permission to begin. That night he recorded another lesson. Still imperfect, but lighter. Less fear. One lesson per week. No grand launch. No cinematic intro. Just consistency. 3 months later, 12 lessons published. Over 2,000 views. 340 subscribers. 23 messages asking if he would turn it into a full course. And that's when it clicked. Success wasn't born from perfection. It was built from repetition. And repetition only happens when you stop planning and start acting. Chapter 8. The Invisible Shift. The biggest transformation wasn't the course. It was Isaac. Because once he understood Anzuru Yori Omoji Yasushi, he applied it everywhere. The leadership role he once hesitated to pursue? He applied. Not fully ready. In the interview he said, "I don't know everything, but I know enough to learn the rest." He got promoted. His investments? He opened a brokerage account. Deposited $500. No perfect asset allocation. No flawless portfolio. Just action. Within 4 months, he had learned more from real market fluctuations than 2 years of theoretical study. His love life. He downloaded a dating app. Uploaded normal photos. Wrote an honest bio. Got a match. The first date was awkward. The second was easier. The third felt natural. 6 months later, they were together. He started noticing a pattern. Every time he replaced overthinking with imperfect action, progress accelerated. Not because the action was flawless, but because action creates feedback. And feedback teaches faster than theory ever can. You can design a course for years, but only real students will tell you what works. You can study investing endlessly, but only real money will teach you about volatility. You can script the perfect relationship, but only vulnerability builds one. Planning gives you the illusion of control. Action gives you reality. Chapter 9. The course that finally existed 1 year after Japan, Isaac had published 52 lessons. A complete course. Was it perfect? No. Some videos had better audio than others. Some explanations improved over time. But it was finished. He listed it on a platform. Priced it at $49. In the first month, 89 students enrolled. $4,361 in revenue. More important than the money, 89 people trusted him enough to pay. 89 people learning because he had stopped hiding. He was no longer the man with 127 pages and zero output. He was the man who began imperfectly and refined through motion. The real proof of change came later. A new intern approached him. "Isaac, I want to create content like you. Where should I start?" Old Isaac would have said, "Research equipment. Study marketing. Build the perfect plan." Instead, he said, "Take your phone. Record 5 minutes explaining something you know. Post it. Don't overthink it. But I don't have a script. You don't need one. I don't have good equipment. You don't need that either. Doing is easier than worrying about doing." The intern looked unsure. But that same day he posted his first video. Bad. Yes. But real. Isaac smiled. He had passed on the same lesson Takashi gave him. Permission to be imperfect. Research backs this up. A study from University of Chicago found that anticipatory anxiety about tasks is consistently greater than the discomfort of performing them. In 94% of cases, participants reported the action itself was far less stressful than the worry beforehand. Another study from Stanford University showed that self-identified perfectionists were 3.2 times more likely to delay or never start meaningful projects. Ironically, their desire for quality reduced their actual output. A neuroscientist from University of London described something called the preparation illusion. When we plan, the brain activates neural pathways similar to execution. We feel progress. Even when nothing has been produced. Planning becomes addictive. Safe. Comfortable. But empty. And yet, there's something deeper about Anzuru Yori Omoji Yasushi. Something Takashi didn't explain that day in Tokyo. Because Isaac wasn't ready to hear it. The philosophy isn't just about doing instead of worrying. It's about something far more uncomfortable. It's about identity. And that changes everything. But now you are ready to hear the rest. Because the full philosophy isn't just, doing is easier than worrying. It includes something deeper. Something practical. Something powerful. It's what Isaac later understood as adaptive Kaizen. Kaizen means continuous improvement. But adaptive Kaizen means you don't improve by designing the perfect version in your head. You improve by releasing version 1.0. Then adjusting. Then releasing 1.1. Then 1.2. Then 2.0. Improvement is not imagined. It's earned through iteration. Isaac didn't consciously apply this principle at first, but he lived it. His first video? Version 1.0. Uncomfortable. Rough. Necessary. The second? Version 1.1. Still awkward. Slightly clearer. The 10th? Version 2.0. Structured. More confident. The 50th? Version 5.0. Genuinely good. But none of those would have existed without that first painful recording balanced on a pile of books. Here's the insight that changes everything. You cannot plan your way to excellence. You can only move your way toward it. Excellence is not a point on a map. It's a direction you walk. Isaac learned it late, but he learned it fully. By the end of his second year, his course had 15,000 students. Annual revenue, $387,000. He left his job. Not because he had planned the perfect exit, but because imperfect action had created undeniable results. Perfect planning had created nothing. Chapter 10. The Legacy of a First Step. 3 years after his first trip, Isaac returned to Tokyo. This time not as an attendee, but as a guest speaker. His talk was titled, From Paralysis to Progress, Breaking the Addiction to Planning. The night before his presentation, he had dinner with Takashi Nakamura. Takashi, Isaac said, I never properly thanked you. That conversation changed my life. Takashi smiled gently. I didn't change your life. I just gave you permission to act on what you already knew. But how did you know I was that type? The planning addict. Takashi laughed softly. Because I was exactly like you at 25. He explained how he once delayed every promotion, every project, every opportunity, waiting to be perfectly prepared. I wasn't afraid of failure, Takashi said. I was afraid of imperfection. And that fear was quietly stealing my life. Then he looked at Isaac. You think I changed your life that day? But how many people have you helped since then? Isaac paused. There were messages every week. People who switched careers, launched projects, started creating. Hundreds, maybe thousands. You didn't just learn the lesson, Takashi continued. You transmitted it. That's how philosophies survive. Not because they are written, but because they are lived. So now let me ask you what Takashi once asked Isaac. What have you been planning for months, or years, that you haven't started? It's that idea that visits you in traffic. That concept that shows up in the shower. That vision that keeps you awake at night. You have reasons, of course. I don't have time. I don't have money. I'm not ready. I need more knowledge. I need better equipment. But those aren't reasons. They're fear dressed up as logic. You're not afraid of starting. You're afraid of being imperfect. Because in planning you remain untouchable. In planning you are still potentially brilliant. In planning your future self is flawless. But reality? Reality reveals limits. And that's uncomfortable. So you plan instead of act. Years pass. And one day you wake up and realize you perfected the blueprint of a life you never built. And Zuru Yuri Omojie Yasushi. Doing is easier than worrying about doing. You've already spent enough energy imagining failure. Now spend that energy beginning. Imperfect. Incomplete. Unpolished. Real. Isaac's life didn't change when he designed a flawless curriculum. It changed when he recorded a terrible first video. His relationship didn't begin with a perfect bio. It began with normal photos and an honest conversation. His success didn't start with mastery. It started with courage. Everything real in his life began imperfectly. Everything he planned perfectly never existed. Let's recap the truth. Excessive planning is often disguised procrastination. If months pass without action, you're avoiding, not preparing. The anxiety before action is almost always worse than the action itself. You will never feel fully ready. Ready is a moving target. The first version is always bad. That's not a flaw, it's the requirement. Feedback only comes from reality. And feedback is the fastest teacher. You don't learn by planning perfectly. You learn by executing imperfectly. So here's your challenge. What is the first imperfect step you will take this week? Write the first paragraph. Record the 5-minute video. Send the proposal without editing it 10 more times. Open the investment account with whatever amount you have. Be specific. Be small. Be imperfect. But be real. You don't need a perfect step. You need the next step. If you made it this far, it means something. It means you're tired of being a perpetual planner. It means you want to become someone who executes. And remember, starting isn't about confidence. It's about courage. Doing is easier than worrying. So stop rehearsing your life. Start living it. Be present. Walk with honor. Follow the path.